So in this video, we're going to take a look at the next layer above our bank entity, so above our data layer. We'll also take a look at Spring Boot repositories, and we'll write our first JUnit 5 test cases and actually using test-driven development along the way. So many interesting topics in this video, so let's go ahead and get started. So I want to start off by thinking about the architecture we want to have. So at this point, we have our data layer ready, which is our bank entity. So the next thing would be a service layer that knows how to retrieve the banks, how to update a bank, and so on. And then later on, we can move even further up to the web layer, where we have a controller that defines all the REST mappings and so on. Now actually, I'm gonna go ahead and create one more layer in here. Let me actually copy this one. So what we're gonna do in this video is we're gonna introduce a data source. And this data source will be responsible for data retrieval and storage and those kinds of aspects. Now, why do we have an additional layer here? Well, this is going to allow us to easily inject different types of data sources into the service layer later on. So this way you could retrieve the data from the network, from a database, from a cache, whatever you want to do, and you can exchange those implementations of the data source quite easily. So this can be a really useful pattern, which is why I'm going to show it to you here. Alright, so that means the goal for this video will be the data source layer, and then in the following videos we're going to tackle the service layer and then the web layer. So let's move back now to our IDE. So let's go ahead and create a new package for this new kind of aspect to our application, and I'm going to call this package simply data source, and then in here I'm going to create a new Kotlin class or file, and actually I'm going to move down to interface down here and just going to call this one bank data source. So this will be the more abstract interface for us, which just defines what kind of functionality we expect from our data source. And for now, since we only want to implement the get endpoint for all the banks, let's just add one method here called getBanks. And this, of course, we expect to return a collection of our bank entities. Okay, so with the interface done, let's go ahead and for now just create a mock implementation of this. So I'm actually going to create another sub package here called mock, and inside this I'm going to add a new mock bank data source. So for now we're not going to care about database access or anything like that. We just want to get it to work and see how all the layers work together. Now, first of all, this class is supposed to implement our bank data source interface. In Kotlin, you just do this with a colon. And then inside here, of course, we should implement this method called getBanks, and then the error is gone as well. So it's already going to generate a fake method body here with a to-do. The next thing I want to do is I want to add a annotation here, which is called repository. And this simply marks our mock data source as a Spring Boot bean. So this adds it to the application context, and it tells Spring to initialize this bean or this object at runtime. And it also tells Spring that this is not just any bean or object, it's in fact a repository which has a few implications later on, for instance, when testing things. And of course, on top of that, it also conveys meaning to the developers. So when someone reads your code and they see the annotation at repository, then they know, okay, this is a repository, which means this class is responsible for retrieving data, storing data, and those kinds of functionalities to access one of your entities. So now, as I promised, we're also going to take a look at testing in Spring Boot at JUnit 5 and test-driven development. So let's go ahead and create a new test for this one. And this will simply be called mock bank data source test. And I'm going to go ahead and just create this. Please make sure that here you have JUnit 5 selected. So hit OK. And then here we have our empty test class ready to go. Now the whole point of test-driven development is you go ahead and you write your test first, and you make sure that your test fails so that you know when you fixed it that the test is actually testing what you thought it would test. So if you don't know that it has failed before you actually fixed it, oftentimes you can run into the case where you're not really testing or what you're trying to test. So let's go ahead and write a first test case over here. And please notice that I'm using a live template. So if I just type test and hit tab, it's gonna create this test case template for me. If you want to do something similar, just go into your settings, and then under live templates, you can go to Kotlin, and then over here you can add a new live template. If you want to look how this is done, you can see down here for test, I just created the function body, and you can create placeholders by placing them in $signs. And then also you want to make sure that this is applicable in Kotlin classes. So you can select this when you create it down here, and then you're all set and you're good to go. Now, the first thing we want to test here is that the mock data source should provide a list or a collection of banks. And then inside this test case, you can see I have the given, when, then structure. Some people also call this arrange, act, and then assert. And the whole purpose is that you have your test prerequisites or the whole test setup done in given. And when denotes the actual call that's being made that you want to test. And under the then block, you just add all your assertions. Now for this particular test case, I don't think we'll have anything here under given, but then when we say our banks is equal to our mock data source dot get banks, and we don't have this variable yet, so let's go ahead and create a property mock data source. And so I'm just gonna create this right here. So I'm gonna create an instance of mock data source. And actually I want this to be not just the type, I just want to assign this. So in Kotlin, the type is inferred automatically, as you may have noticed, so I don't have to have the type there again. So now I have this object ready, and notice that this is a design decision already for this test. There are different ways you could test this. This right now, by just instantiating this object manually, basically means we're just testing our data source as a POJO, as a plain old Java object. We're not using any Spring Boot dependency injection. We're simply creating a regular JUnit 5 test case that we could write just the same way without any Spring Boot dependencies at all. So we're just creating the object ourselves, and then we're testing it. And I'm going to talk about some of the different types of tests you can have in Spring Boot at the layers above, where we're also going to use the application context. But for now, let's start with also, I guess, the simplest type of test, where you're just testing a plain old Java object. So when we have our banks equal to mock bank data source dot get banks, then we want to assert that, and we should have this dependency here. Make sure it comes from assert j. So assert that the banks object is not empty. Now the assert j dependency comes with Spring Boot starter test, which is integrated for you in the dependencies. If you don't have this, make sure that in your build.gradle you have your Spring Boot starter test dependency over here, and that it's also, of course, marked with test implementation. All right, so let's go back, and indeed we don't really have any given block in this one. So let's go ahead and run this test and see what happens. Okay, so once that's done, we can see our test results down here, and we see this one test case that we have, which is red. So that's actually a good thing. We want our test case to be failing first. Again, that's test-driven development. So you basically have this cycle of red, green, and then refactoring. So now we're at the first stage. We have a red test, which means a failing test. So now we want to make this test green. So let's go back to our implementation, so to our mock bank data source. And then what's happening here is, of course, it cannot fulfill this assertion because instead it throws a not implemented error, which comes from this to do. So what we could do here is we could say return a list of or even we could just say empty list, just to make the, or just to change the error message. And then we can just rerun the test up here. Now, of course, since the assertion was that the list should not be empty, this is not going to work yet, but you can see it's now yellow, which actually means that the assertion failed instead of that just an exception was thrown at runtime. And we can see here we're expecting the actual value to not be empty. So let's go ahead and instead return a list of, and then we're going to create a bank entity here. And for now, we're just going to do the minimum to make the test pass. So don't go ahead and implement everything right away, at least if you're trying to do test-driven development, which is what I'm trying to show you here. So just really do the minimal to make the test pass. Now with this, that should be fine for this test case. All right, so we have a green test now. So the next step is to refactor our production code. And what I want to do is I want to extract the list into a variable, which I'm just going to call banks. And I also want to actually move this up here. And then we just return the banks. And again, in Kotlin, we can also do it like this. And this should still keep our test passing. So I'm going to run this again with Shift F10. And yeah, it's still running just fine. All right, so far so good. So let's go ahead and create our next test case, which is that it should provide some mock data. So inside here, I think I'm not gonna need a given block again. And then I'm gonna say when our banks equal mock bank data source.getBanks, then I wanna assert that the bank object or the banks, they, let's say here, all satisfy, and we're gonna take a look at this again in a minute, that the account number is not blank. So I want that they all have a proper account number. So let's go ahead and try to run this test case. And you can see it runs through just fine. But if we look at our current mock data, we have a bank with an empty account number. So what the heck's going on here? Now, if you had already written all the production code, you might just think to yourself, okay, it all looks fine, the account number is not blank, and all the tests are passing, so I'm just gonna move on. But now, because we only did the minimum to make the test case above work, we can see that something must be wrong with this test case. And in fact, if we take a look at all satisfy, we can see here an example of how it's supposed to be used. So inside all satisfied, you are supposed to add multiple assertions on the same object. So that's what it's intended for. And therefore, if we just say all satisfied that the account number is not blank, it's just not gonna assert anything. What we want to do instead is we want to say all match. And again, let's also make sure how this one works. So assert that ABC, they all match, the length equals 1. So this is what we wanted here. So all or each element in the collection should fulfill this condition that we specify. So now let's go ahead and run our test case again. And I'm using Shift F10 for this. Now you can see we have expecting all elements of this list to match the predicate, which is the account number is not blank, but this one didn't. So that's good. We have our failing test. So now we can go back into our mock data source and try to fix this. So I'm just going to say 1, 2, 3, 4 for the account number and then run this again. Now, of course, we could be as strict as we want now with this mock data. We could also say that at least one of them, so any match, let's say the trust should not be 0. So we don't want just 0 numbers here. We want the transaction fee to also not equal 0. And maybe we even want, well, let's go step by step. We might want more than just one element in the list later on, but for now, let's run this. And let me actually run the entire test class so that we always run all our test cases at once and we can see which status we're at. So obviously the second test case now fails. So let's go ahead and add a trust of non-zero, and the transaction fee already is non-zero. Let's actually make it 17. Then let's run the test again. Give it a second, and we can see all our tests pass. Now I'm going to add another assertion to our first test case, which is that bank.size is greater than, well, let's say, or equal to 3. So we want at least 3 banks of sample data. Let's go ahead and run this. And we can see the test case fails again. So this one we probably should have done right away. Also, is not empty is irrelevant now because it's part of this assertion, which is also nice because we only have one assertion then in this test case, which gives it only one reason to fail. Now let's go back into our production code, and in here I want to create multiple banks now. So in newer Kotlin versions you can actually have the trailing comma, which is quite nice, so you can just duplicate the lines and just keep it like that. And I'm gonna, let's say, add 1010, add a trust of 17 here, and a transaction fee of 0. And here we're going to add a trust of 0. So it's always good to test border cases as well. But of course, this is not really test data, so we're just mocking things, but it might still be nice to have some zeros or ones in here. Now, of course, the account number should be different for each one. You could actually create a test case for that if you want to. So this would be a nice practice to write your own test case, just making sure the account numbers are unique. All right, so with this we should be good to go. Let's run our tests again. And we can actually see the second test case failed now because here apparently I said all match, but what I wanted to do is I want to have at least one element or one example bank with a transaction fee unequal 0. I don't want all of them to be unequal 0, even though I believe in the the new Boston currency, you can have a transaction fee of 0, but we're not really implementing that here. For this example, this is just fine. All right, perfect. So we have our passing tests. We could see if you want to refactor anything here, but I think this is looking just fine. So we have our list of banks, and then we just return them for now. There's one tiny thing I want to do, which is just a rename. So for this data source, I want to choose a more fitting name for this method, which I think would be something like retrieve banks. So the data source is a quite low-level component, and therefore it's really about retrieving the banks from somewhere. We don't know if the data source retrieves this from a network or a database, whatever. The service doesn't really care as long as the data source knows how to provide the data that it needs. And then of course in the mock data source, it should have renamed it automatically as well. It should not rename this one though. That's not correct. All right, so now we have the data source ready to go. So in the next videos, we're going to work our way up to the service layer, web layer, and so on. And we're also going to see different approaches to testing in Spring Boot. So I hope you learned something in this video. It's actually quite a few things, although we only went to the surface, but really using Spring Boot with Kotlin, with JUnit 5, and also using test-driven development. I think it's quite a nice practice to follow along and to kind of see how all of these things come together. I hope you liked it. If you did, please leave a like below, and I'll see you in the next one.